Welcome everyone to the channel. Around this time last year, Martin did a tour of his Star Wars room. Some of you commented asking to see some of my collection. 2025 was the year I started to display some of the pieces in my own Star Wars room from the 3 years I've been collecting. I wanted to mix up my display, so I thought it'd be a good chance to get down all those old boxes and take a look at what I've got. Alright, let's kick things off then with my 6-inch figures in my collection. So starting with the Elite Series Disney diecast droids. Now these are all the astromechs in the series from the diecast Disney droids, and that is the first R2-D2 of the collection. And then you've got Hondo Ohnaka's droid there. That's also a very cool little droid, but I've picked up some Black Series figures as well. As you can see with Shin Hati, some good ones there, and of course the GameStop exclusive R5-D4. And speaking of Black Series, we've got the 3 3/4 R2-D2 and R5-G19, and there's a Force Link R2. I've picked up quite a few R2-D2s as you can see, and the G8 R3 with the 3D glasses from the 2012 Discover the Force line. Regular viewers of the channel will know I've got two things that I really like: General Grievous and astromech droids. So this is a little beauty in my collection. Chuffed to bits to have that. On the Legacy collection, they have the R2-D2. There's a couple of R2s, but I have the Jawa Stun R2 and the R2-X2. So these here are the Clone Wars cards from 2010-2011. Now there's only one more astromech droid I need to pick up from there, but it's quite a pricey one. It's Plo Koon's droid. And then I've got the Clone Wars from 2008-2009 R2 and Goldie with the Clone Wars helmet card back. Taking it back a few years now to the Power of the Jedi and Power of the Force lines. So that's 1995 to 2002. There's one Shadow of the Empire card back in there as well, which is Boba Fett and IG-88. A little bit yellowed, which is a bit of a shame, but not in bad condition otherwise. And then we've got quite a few R2-D2s on this line, so I've picked up most of them. And also you've got the nice Star Tours astromech droids, and a couple on the Power of the Jedi, which is the really cool R2-Q5 black droid, and R4-M9 with the mouse droid. I've also got the 300th figure, Boba Fett. That's the 300th figure they made. And then I've got the R2-D2 with the pop-up scanner and the R5-D4 with the rocket launcher. So these ones are the Star Wars Saga line from 2002 to 2004. We have a couple of R2-D2s, of course, and the Star Tours R5-D2 droid before we see my Legacy collection graded figure. This is the only graded figure in my collection. 90% gold UKG. Very, very cool. Moving down, you've got the Movie Heroes R2 from the Clone Wars, and then the Special Edition Silver R2, an original trilogy, and then a couple of the Revenge of the Sith droids. There's only one left to collect there, which is R4P17. I've got both the Episode 1 astromechs that are available, R2-D2 and R2-B1, as well as the Royal Starship droids from the Discover the Force line. Moving away from the figures for a minute then, I'm going to show some of the Lego that I've picked up over the last couple of years. I've really got into Lego in 2025 and picked up a few pieces, like the Arc 170 there. I've got a few of the character encyclopedias. Really picked up the character encyclopedias there for the figures. but I've got a couple of those. The Dark Falcon I picked up a couple of years ago, and it is about 90% complete. I've really got to get around to building that and finishing that, because I want to move on to the Coruscant Guard gunship or the ATTE Walker that I picked up last year. As far as minifigs are concerned, I've picked up a lot of clones. They're all up on the back row with the Jedi and the Jedi's astromech. A few more to pick up on that line at some point, and some to open out of the sets that I've just shown. But I'm also trying to collect minifigs of the original Kenner 96, and I've got a fair few, and then some random figs there as well. Got a couple of other little items, such as the Darth Maul tin, the B2 EMO build from the Andmore event, and a couple of other little ones. Some of the builds I've already completed are the Jedi Starfighter of Obi-Wan, Ahsoka's Starfighter, and the Assault Tank, which you get Mace Windu and his clones with. So a few other odds and ends that I've got. I've picked up the Astromech 6-piece, but this is so big I don't know where I can display it. Some other bits, I won't include these in the R2 collection, but I've got a figurine stamper, the R2 watch, some R2 soap, got some nice cards there as well. A few little different pieces here, some nice bits of artwork, an R2 USB stick, and an R2 golf ball. And Martin picked up these beer mats from America, which are quite cool, quite hard to find, I expect. Got some cards, less said about that the better. And then some key rings with some really good photos on from some vintage figures. Really cool, really like those. And of course the Pez, I've got a line of the Pez stuff. Bit random, but hey. Back to some astromech droids. Let's have a look at the Droid Factory line now. Does that one count? The SK620 from the Chandrila Star line. That is a beautiful figure. One of my favourites. If anyone's watched our top 10 2025 video, you'll see a couple of these figures in there, like the DJ Rex. So there's 6 of these Droid Factory 2-packs to collect. I only need one more. I've got Watto and his droid, Plo Koon and his droid, and then down here we have Luke and R2. Droid Factory obviously do quite a lot of different ones, so 2-packs, 4-packs. I've picked up a few, but I've still got a lot of the 4-packs to get, as they go for silly money. This is a line I really enjoy. You get some seriously cool looking astromechs. Look at that. And then of course the gondola droid from the season finale of Mandalorian season 1. And then a lot of the Boba Fett droids, but I can't say I remember seeing any of those when I watched the series. Let me know if you did. Onto the Saga collection figures that I've got then. So I've got some from both of the lines of Saga collection. So these are obviously the vintage style card backs. There's some really nice ones in here, including the bounty hunters that are not yet on the TVC line, Bosk and IG-88, and George Lucas, the maker himself. And from the original trilogy, I've got the R2 because, I need to have that. But back to the Saga collection, this is from the 2006, 2007 line. They've got some really nice astromech droids on there, including Mace Windu's, one of my favourites in the collection, and a couple of others. I've got the 5-pack Series 2 of astromechs. I need to get Series 1. And there's only 2 more I think I need from the Saga collection to complete all of the Astromechs, and they are both R2-D2 if I'm not mistaken. Now, a lot of you probably don't know that I've got a bit of a vintage collection that I'm building. So this is something I haven't really said before, and it all started with the Admiral Akbar there. £3 that cost me. These are all, of course, loose, but I love that Snowtrooper, so I had to get it with card back, which isn't in terrible condition, but it's obviously not attached. Another R2 there. In terms of loose modern figures, I've picked up a fair few, but mostly Astromechs, and I have to say I really like how the Astromechs display when loose. Not that I'd go back and take any off the card backs, but I've picked up a fair few from various different places. So I've got the Mystery Crate droids from Disney, and a couple that were found in other sets like the Y-Wing, and there's a Hoth battle set, and then you've got the Builder droids that came from a whole load of different card backs back there. The orange one with the R3 dome, the clear dome, which is quite nice. There's just quite a nice mix of droids, including of course an R2 from the Force Link line and from the Clone Wars line. Moving on then to possibly my favourite line, which is the 30th anniversary, starting with the General Grievous that they have on that line and the pre-Cyborg Grievous, both great figures. Picked those up last year along with the Galactic Marine, which also looks fantastic. It also boasts quite a few really cool Astromech droids. Granted, most of them are R2-D2, but there are some really nice ones in there, such as the Return of the Jedi with the cargo net there. Really like what they've done there. And also the R2-D2 and C-3PO from the concept line of figures which they did on the 30th anniversary, and I have the entire concept line from the 30th anniversary, which is awesome. They're obviously the Ralph McQuarrie artwork made in figure form, apart from the General Grievous, which was done by Warren Fu. That one's a little bit yellow, so I'll be looking to replace that at some point. But I also have the Stormtrooper, which is yellowed, but you can see there that that's the Ultimate Galactic Hunt Stormtrooper with the gold foiling, which is really nice. I'd quite like to get a few more of these at some point. And I picked up last year the Obi-Wan and Yoda twin pack. Look at that Yoda. Hilarious. What a concept. And they've obviously had quite a few. I think there's 12 figures in total. You got the concept Boba Fett there, which has always been one of my favourites. Always a favourite outfit of mine. Really like that. You got the Rebel Trooper, the Snow Trooper. That Snowtrooper. I think I prefer the other design of Snowtrooper, but still pretty cool nonetheless. A very strange looking Han Solo. Darth Vader, need to get that one replaced, that's very yellowed. And Chewbacca, which obviously is the design they used for Zeb from Rebels. Okay, let's finish things off then with the vintage collection figures that I've picked up in the last 3 years, starting with the Din Djarin, Mandalorian and Child. This is the very first figure that made it into my collection all those years ago, 3 years back. So this is where it all started. And then I picked up a few others from the Mandalorian line, a couple of Bounty Hunters, Mando and IG-11. And then a couple of the, let's say the cheaper ones, the less sought after ones. But really I got into it for the Bounty Hunters. VC-01 Dengar and Aura Singh there. But one of my grail pieces, so happy to pick this one up, VCP-01 and 02, the Forlom Zuckuss, done in the original Kenner style with the name pills wrong. This was this was the grail for me. This was something that took me a little while to pick up. Really, really wanted this and absolutely love it. So I'll be on the lookout for a new grail. If anyone has any suggestions, let me know what I should be looking for. This is my only action pack. Obviously picked that one up for the Astromech droid. And I've also got a fair few Boba Fett from the vintage collection. And I really, really like the comic book Boba Fett. That's one of my favourites. And then the issue 1 Boba Fett there. Moving on down then, I've got a couple more bounty hunters. We've got the Leia Bouche, Fennec Shand, Cad Bane, all nice little pickups, Shay Vizsla. And then the Imperial Snowtrooper, which, as I've said before, is one of my favourite card backs. And then a couple more from there, but that's not all with the vintage collection, because they have a lot of Astromech droids that I have picked up too. So I've picked up the droids R2 and Boba Fett. Not too bothered about getting the C-3PO, but maybe at some point just to complete the set. And then there's the Revenge of the Jedi proof card, which is one of my favourite pickups of 2025. And then another one of my favourite items in my collection, which is the Boba Fett prototype on the vintage collection card. It just looks really good. It just looks great on that Empire Strikes Back card. I love that. And then, of course, the R2-D2s of the vintage collection. This is VC149. I've got both versions, so you can see the muddied one and the clean one. And then there's the Sensor Scope Empire Strikes Back and Top Merrick's droid, which, again, fantastic looking little droid. Don't see many of these ones loose, actually. And the Ahsoka Kenner droid from the E-Wing set. This is a beautiful little droid, one of my favourites again, and that was obviously an homage to the vintage R2-D2, but really cool looking figure that. So I've still got a few more to pick up from the vintage collection, but that is my collection 3 years on. How do you guys think I've done? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to tell me what you think my next grail could be. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you all for watching. We will catch you next time. And of course, can't forget the Carrie Fisher autographed piece. Really should get this up on the wall at some point. That's great.